According to the National Cancer Institute, more than 1.6 million people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer this year. The Reverend Percy McCray is the National Director of Faith-Based Programs for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and he knows all too well the importance of faith and hope in the battle against cancer. Welcome to the Harvest Show.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's the one word no one wants to hear, cancer. But it's a reality. You just heard the statistics, 1.6 million people in the U.S. alone will be diagnosed this year.
It's an amazing statistic. One of the former patients that I used to support years ago used to say it this way: cancer is the only word that you hear in bold letters loudly in your head when it's told you have it. So it's a reality that we must deal with and be aware of, and quite frankly, be embracing of how to support and really undergird individuals through their journey and their path of treatment and then the possibility of success.
Well, as the National Director of Faith-Based Programs and Spiritual Programs for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, what are you responsible for? Because I would imagine that you and your team play a major role.
We do. At the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, one of the things that we have had the privilege, now my 22nd year with the organization, within the context of supporting patients spiritually, is that we understand and value the role that spirituality certainly supports people mentally and emotionally while they're working through the rigors of conventional treatment and care. And there is documentation and research that strongly suggests that people of faith, people who have a spiritual orientation, simply have better coping mechanisms. They seem to respond in many cases very differently of all of the different dynamics that they're working through. And that's an important factor. And so faith becomes a key component, allowing people to have another element of strength and support while they're working through those dynamics.
So what does that look like? Do you go into the rooms of these patients, and I mean, what does that look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's very unique to the patient. You know, it's just like anything else. People's walk of faith, where they're located with their faith, is very unique and it's very personal. And so the approach to that is making sure that you tailor that approach to the unique dynamics of that individual, their background, their orientation, and then tailor that visit. You know, you come in, you introduce yourself, you allow that patient, as I often say, to drive the bus, to dictate to you what they want, what they need, and then from there begin to frame your visit and understand how to minister to them in that regard on a very individual basis.
You have a very impressive resume. Not only are you the director, you're a member of the United States Chaplains Association, and you were also trained at Rhema Bible College.
That's correct.
And I think that would be the Kenneth Hagin founded. Now, I bring that up for a reason, because we know that I've watched the Hagins preach about faith and believing God for healing.
Sure.
So how do you handle that when someone says to you, oh, that's okay, I have faith that God is going to heal me, and you can see that the person is dying?
It's interesting. Over the years, I've been often asked, how did I enter into this type of ministry? Because it's a very unique and different type of ministry of healthcare. And over the years, it's become very clear and apparent to me that there is still much to be understood about the proper balance of faith, health, healing, wellness, all of those different concepts. And you're right. There can be, in some cases, some extreme schools of thought with regard to theological approaches of, I don't need medicine, I don't need doctors, I'm just going to use my faith. And I've had patients who have actually said that to me, that I've counseled, that I've tried to encourage to understand that when we look at the scriptures, when we look theologically, Jesus had a member of his staff who was a physician. So I start there with helping people to begin to shift their paradigm around the fact that our faith is key and it's important and it's core to us. But at the end of the day, every good and perfect gift, the Bible says, come from above. Medicine and science is a gift of God. And when we counterbalance and put it in its proper respective balance of our faith, exercising our faith and then understanding the role of medicine and science and how they can be mutually can work together. There's not a fight. There shouldn't be this tension there, as often many people feel like a child in a custody battle with a mom and dad. They love their pastor and they love God and they love their doctor and medicine, and sometimes they feel that that's in conflict with each other. And I think that we can and should do a better job as a faith community in decompressing that stress and that tension, because we're not fighting against each other. They're actually there to help complement one another.
And it takes pressure off of the patient, I would imagine, to know that it's okay to use both.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, patients are trying to figure out, what they should and should not do, particularly people of faith. Obviously, we're talking about people of faith. That again, where does the role of my doctor and my clinical team come into play or in conflict with my faith? And the fact of the matter is that there's a way to do both of those. And for 22 years, I and colleagues of mine through all of our 5 locations have found that helpful balance within a clinical environment of supporting people with their faith and through their faith, but allowing their faith to also work hand in hand with good medicine and science, so that at the end of the day, we give people the best possible opportunity to fight against the negative effects of sickness and disease.
And you've seen much success.
I've seen a lot of success, absolutely.
As a result of it.
Now, and as we talked even previously before the show, the numbers that you quoted, they're high. And there are people who do die from cancer, and I've seen that happen, but I've seen so many people, as a result of their faith in conjunction with good medicine and science, being compliant, who have had tremendous successes, who have gone on to start ministries, to go ahead and start cancer care ministries. I'm thinking of a particular lady out of Louisiana who she would go to her local grocery store while she was receiving her treatment, and she would wear a wig because she lost her hair. And she said the Lord just told her to take her wig off while she would go to the grocery store, and she started what she called a grocery store ministry. She would talk to people, she would purposefully go to the grocery store and allow people to see her without her hair, to engage around the conversation of what was going on, to talk about the goodness of God, the faith of God, the faithfulness of God, as well as being a survivor who went through medical treatment and care, and empowered so many women and so many people in her local community, because the word cancer still creates this wall of silence.
Oh, for sure.
And so people don't want to have a conversation, they don't discuss, they hide in shame. And she decided that she wouldn't live that way. She decided that she was going to live openly and frankly and allow people to see her journey and her path, and she's doing wonderfully well. I'm thinking of a lady out of Michigan who had slipped into a coma, and her family asked me to come and pray with her while in her treatment. And the doctors basically told us that there wasn't really much left that we could do. And so we went and prayed with her at her bedside in the hospital, and 3 minutes later, she opened her eyes up, and she is still alive today, probably now a 15-year cancer survivor. So there are those who are thriving and surviving as a result of having a battle of cancer, but utilizing their faith and good clinical care and working hand in hand together have seen tremendous success. So there's something to be said for that, for sure.
What is our journey of hope?
Our journey of hope transition is, the Lord laid upon my heart many, many years ago that there was a deficit within our local faith communities of having good, solid information and relationship with a clinical environment to talk about cancer within the local church. So we started a free program where we now are training churches and pastors to go back and train people in their local congregations to start cancer care ministries, all free of charge. We provide the curriculum and the training at one of our participating regional sites throughout the United States. Now, probably close to 4,000 people have been trained through our Journey of Hope, who come, they receive the treatment, they receive the curriculum, they go back to their local churches, and they begin recruiting individuals to start cancer care ministries to minister specifically to people within their church and within their communities, and we're seeing tremendous success.
Reverend McCray, I want to give you a moment to speak to our viewers, because we have an international prayer line and people call in all the time for healing, and one of the #1 prayer requests is prayer about cancer.
I believe it.
So would you look into your camera and just encourage them? We have about 30 seconds left.
Absolutely. If you or someone you love are dealing with cancer today, I want you to be encouraged in the fact that cancer ultimately does not have to define who you are, that there is something still that you can say about that, and in many cases do. Participating with your local physician, get good clinical care, get good, solid information, and then begin to embrace the fact that God is our healer. He's Jehovah Jireh. He is our provider. He's more than enough, and that today you are more than a conqueror. We believe and expect good things to happen to you. Go forth and be all that God has called you to be.
Wow, amen to that. To connect with the Reverend McCray or to get more information about the curriculum, go to ourjourneyofhope.com or go to Harvest Facebook page or harvest-tv.com for more information. Coming up later, Pastor Charles with your prayer request, but up next, Brian Bush with the latest news from Israel.